Right, we are live.
Hello, I'm Matt Bergman, and you are listening to the Punk Rock Libertarians Podcast, episode 309. I'm here tonight with Jared Schneiderman,
What's up, guys?
James Babb,
Hello.
Kyle Wagner.
Where's Wagner? Jesus, dude.
Kyle Wagner's around here somewhere, and we've got the one and only Mike Shipley with us tonight.
Hey.
Hey, dude. Dude, anyways, we're gonna have so much fun tonight. We've got settle down, James Babb.
Woo! No way.
So we've got a ton of fucking topics, and we've got the after hours program going on tonight. So right after the podcast, we're gonna go on over to patreon.com. And if you want to gain access to our after hours program, you just have to throw us like $1 per month, a minimum of $1 per month, and you get to help keep the lights on in Anarchy Basement.
It's one heck of a deal.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then after that, we might even do an Anarchy Bar.
Ooh.
So, topic number one is none other than wet ass pussy.
Okay.
So,
All right.
okay, so this is like my first time hearing this term.
You've never heard of wet ass pussy before?
I mean, I've heard of like wet pussy, but like wet ass pussy, this is like the new lingo.
It's just even more wet than what you've been used to. Evidently. I don't know, right? I mean,
Oh, damn.
Dude,
Starting
that
off
was
with the harsh burn from Babs.
Did you guys watch the videos? The video?
Well, it was
the
a
videos
video.
of the wet ass pussy. Like,
The music video.
Okay,
is
so
this
it's-
on Pornhub?
It should be, dude, honestly. It's a song by, I think it's Cardi B.
That's right.
And it's featuring another female rapper, and I think her name is Megan Thee Stallion. And they're basically, the video is pretty it's pretty raunchy. They're dressed pretty provocatively. They're twerking, they're shaking their stuff around and singing about wet ass pussy and rapping about it.
I see no problem with this. What's the controversy?
I have no problem with it. But Ben Shapiro appears to have some issues with it. Can you bring up the tweet, Kyle?
It wasn't a tweet. It was like on his podcast where he was just.
Oh no, there's a tweet. I'll find
Oh,
the
is there
tweet.
a specific
Yeah.
tweet? All right.
Yeah.
Well, I just know that he on his show was just offended by the lyrics, and he actually read some of the lyrics, talking about how ridiculous they were and how inappropriate it was. And he's being blasted by everybody for having an issue with the song. So I decided, I guess I'm more conservative than most
Can we play this song live on the show now, or will we get banned somehow for that?
No, I think this was pretty
We
much
could get
fair
taken
game.
down.
Oh,
So hold
right,
on. Here's
yeah.
here's the tweet. So yeah, he's as Kyle was saying, he was bitching. He was basically hand wringing about how this is probably destroying Western civilization or something. And then he tweeted, "As I also discussed on the show, my only real concern is that the women involved, who apparently require a bucket and a mop, get the medical care they require. My doctor wife's differential diagnosis, bacterial vaginosis, yeast infection, or trichomonas." Basically, admitting that he can't get his wife's pussy wet.
To me, I thought maybe that would be a joke, but maybe he's serious about that.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean,
So he has a legitimate health concern for promiscuous women. Is that what he's saying? He's like,
I think specifically
he's
ones
saying-
that have
doesn't
very
understand
wet.
that he doesn't understand that wetness is a sign of arousal. He thinks it's a
Right.
medical condition. So he asked his doctor wife, and she fed him this line instead of having to tell him, actually, you just never get me wet.
Yeah, exactly.
So she made up a medical condition to explain why she's never wet, and then this is what his tweet's based on. I
Yeah.
still don't follow any of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
basically
basically it.
All right.
I took it as a joke, tongue in cheek, because obviously no one's going to need a bucket and a mop. That's just a lyric. it's to be funny.
Kyle,
But
it sounds like
maybe he
you've
is
never
being
really
serious.
experienced that wet ass pussy.
Yeah, yeah, like it's interesting.
Well, you guys could be right, and he could be being serious about this and thinking that they actually have a medical condition, and I could be right that it's a tongue-in-cheek joke about how they actually have an issue. I also saw.
What I think it really is an uptight conservative trying to make jokes about a modern woman who has a similar sexual habits to any typical male, right? So, and this seems to I don't know, have triggered him.
Oh, I don't think that's
that far off.
I don't think that's typical male behavior either. I mean, it is for some.
Well, we don't have pussies, so.
But it's perfectly normal for
promiscuous.
Listen, how many men singing about promiscuous sexual lives is he critiquing?
That's a good point, and somebody made that point to me too. They were like, "Oh, why do you just have a problem with the Cardi B song and not with all these male rappers?" And I was like, "Well, we just happen to
not just every male rapper, but every rock and roll singer, every bluegrass song, every blues performer,
it's every song, James. Whatever.
Sorry, sex is a popular topic in music. Deal with it,
Yeah,
but when it comes from a female,
Yeah, I just thought that I had a bunch of thoughts on the topic actually, but one of them was just about, is this good for feminism or women's rights? Because there's some people taking the position that, it's good for women to own their sexuality and embrace their sexuality and not be shy about it. And in this video, they're embracing their sexuality. Certainly, it's very forward and open. I took the position that it's like, if you want to be treated with respect in like the workplace, in the boardroom, that kind of thing, like you don't want to be treated like a hoe. Like I just feel like that's the wrong.
Unless you're a hoe, and then you want to be treated like a first class hoe, not a street hoe.
That's right. Yeah. So I took a lot of. So I thought
boardroom.
What's that?
Do you think if Cardi B walks into her record producer's boardroom, they're not going to be like, "Thanks for the cash," like respect?
Yeah, like I said,
of course they will be.
There are a lot of angles to this. I mean, yes, she's a performer, she's an entertainer. She's definitely doing this to sell albums or the song, or at least downloads. And
she finally did something to get mentioned on Punk Rock Libertarians.
Yeah,
she's been ignored, but the media's been ignoring her all this time. And
actually,
finally,
I think we
had to get provocative enough to get up here on the right. Okay, so she has been on before. Okay,
she was on because she was bitching about taxes.
Yes,
she had a very viral video where she was complaining about taxes, which was pretty cool.
I'm really starting to like this lady.
I have no problems with her at all. I have zero problems.
Kudos to her for just owning it, and just going with it.
No, yeah. I definitely have a problem, and it's, I think it's an inappropriate message to tell young girls that you want to be a hoe, you just want to land a rich guy, you don't cook, you don't clean, but you still got the ring. It's just like, she's wearing, her boobs are hanging out during half the video. So I think that this is adult content is my issue. And,
aren't we adults here? Are we all adults?
We are adults, but
okay.
YouTube is not really that censored that much. I mean, I think of the 85 million views this video had, I'm sure a lot of them were young girls that are going to be singing about their wet ass pussies, and I'm not really comfortable with that.
But isn't that the parents' fault? Isn't that the parents' responsibility to make sure their kids aren't consuming the
don't
content?
have wet ass pussies? What?
It is a parent's responsibility to. I think it is a parent's responsibility to monitor and set controls and limits.
Like if your daughter's is like, why are you getting that mop? Like there's you might want to have that talk. Like.
I mean, I also think there's something to think about in that, like, when we keep young people in this state of sort of ignorance and this artificial idea that these things are forbidden, then when they enter into their teenage years, they don't have enough information to make wise choices. And they wind up making really bad ones because they were kept ignorant, supposedly for their own good.
Which is terrible. Right. I mean, I should ask I have teenage daughters. I should ask them about this video and ask them what they think. I would have no problem with, they would have as good a critique as any of us if they watched it and they could say everything they like or don't like about it. And I'm not worried that they're suddenly going to become hoes after listening to this song. Like, I see no risk there at all. So, I guess some people are scared their kids are going to hear it and become hoes. Is that the problem?
Yeah, well, Tipper, or they're going to engage in, sexually promiscuous activity.
Based on
Because we never did that when we were teens. What?
I didn't,
come on.
but I guess you did. So somebody
Kyle,
called me.
that was
Kyle, why are you slut
Okay.
shaming, Kyle?
Somebody called
A teenager who's getting their information about sex from rap music because their parent couldn't teach them that earlier because it was so taboo. Like,
Right.
again,
At least
what I'm saying,
at least show them where Pornhub is.
that goes back to the parent.
Yeah, Mike's right. I mean, it is ultimately up to the parent to control that content. And somebody called me Tipper Gore, and they put my face on Tipper Gore on a meme.
Wow,
and
that's
so I had to look
That's
up
funny.
Tipper Gore because I
man.
didn't know the context, but apparently she was Al Gore's wife, and her big crusade was labels on records, parental content or inappropriate content advisories.
Yeah,
And
actually the Ramones have an excellent song about her called "Censor Shit."
Yes. And you know what else? You all have to drop everything you're doing right now. Well, after the show, of course, and go on YouTube and look up Dee Snider's testimony to Congress. Dee Snider of Twisted Sister with his big ass hair went in there and dropped a fucking truth bomb on the floor of Congress. And it is like, it's so amazing. You have to watch it. It's probably 20 minutes. He's got his like little speech in his back pocket and he unfolds it and then he just fucking nails it. And these like old Republican men are just sitting there like, because they were like
awesome.
They were trying to blame him for like ruining the world. And he was like, as a matter of fact, not only am I a Christian man, but I have a daughter myself. And here's what my lyrics really mean.
Yeah.
And they were like, because like, what do you say to that? It's beautiful. Go watch it.
yeah,
That
it's
sounds awesome.
it's interesting.
33 years ago.
I mean, at the end
more.
of the day, due to Tipper
30
Gore's pressure,
35? I don't know.
the record industry did put those labels on the front of the albums without having to be forced to do it, which I thought was a constructive step. I mean, it's good for parents to know what their kids are listening to. And another thought I had was the communist countries, they banned all this kind of stuff.
Hey,
The Soviet Union.
Kyle, do you feel like those stickers kind of like help you decide which albums not to buy?
Well, I mean, I don't buy CDs anymore, and I don't have any kids, so. But I think if I was an ignorant parent, they would help me potentially know what I was buying.
Dude, I would tell my dad to specifically buy the ones with the label because I wanted the real music.
Yeah.
Like one
That's
time he
fair.
came back with one from Walmart, and I was like, "Dad, this doesn't have the label. Return this."
Yeah.
Yeah, how many times
My dad was
it
like
used
helping
to
me
be
pirate music from original Napster.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think it's helped people sell albums that had the warning, like video
Probably.
games, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's a little bit of a badass thing to have, I guess. Content warning.
Unfortunately, didn't Dee Snider become like an Obama endorser, like establishment dude after that? Like, so many rockers fail, but he had a good moment.
Not
Yeah, I
sure.
was saying anyway. So I was talking about the communist countries and how the Soviet Union had a list of banned musics. They banned music for violence, promotion of violence, and then sexuality. And I can't remember what they had a whole list of categories that if the music contained that, they were banned. And a lot of Western albums were banned in Russia for that reason.
Will these albums be banned in Kyle's Global Minarchy?
No, they wouldn't. And I don't want to censor Cardi B. I mean, I support free expression, and this is free expression. I don't think it's good for feminism, especially for the fact that there's a bass line going through the background that says there's hoes in this house, some hoes in this house. The entire song, it's calling them hoes. So I think
What if they are hoes?
I think it's degrading to women, and I think it sets a bad example for young girls. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's just music, and if that's what people enjoy, then I'd say go ahead, especially if you're a grown adult or old enough to make that decision, I'm
what
fine
was
with it.
Shapiro's exact argument that he was making? Not obviously not in this tweet, but like his general argument on the show.
I'm not sure. Probably that it was just bad for Western civilization, or
Right.
show, I mean, and
Like
you can
like interracial marriage or I don't know, like, I mean, when I hear bad for Western civilization, I just want to. I know I'm talking to some kind of a bigot. I mean, like
Yeah,
nobody
exactly.
even uses that term.
Well-
that's not.
a conservative, James. I mean, there are people that are just not comfortable with the loose sexual behavior,
Then they don't
And-
have to
and you're-
engage in it.
Yeah, of other people. They're always really concerned what's going on in other people's bedrooms.
Yeah, well, in this case, he's concerned with the content that's being put out and that's being consumed.
So why is conservative sexuality Western, but like sexual liberation isn't? Like, isn't feminism Western philosophy?
Yeah.
Well, that's they use it as a different word. That to them it just means, all the traditional stuff that I like, not the stuff that you like.
Anything traditional from around like 1930 to I guess like 1960.
That white straight
people
people
did.
enjoyed.
Yeah.
Well, you look at how our society has gotten less conservative, right? Women used to wear full body bathing suits, and people used to wear suits on airplanes and to work. And it's just gotten progressively looser and looser. And, the most progressive workplaces in California, they wear flip-flops and shorts, and it's just gotten less and less formalized.
But yet they're making more money than they ever have in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about as a culture.
Can we read some Cardi B lyrics? Is that too risque for the show? Talk your shit, bite your lip, ask for a car while you ride that dick.
Wow.
What about the swiping your nose like a credit card?
Yeah, that was a good one.
I mean, it is. I thought it was funny. Like her lyrics are funny to me, and she's not the first person that made a song like this.
Yeah, has no one ever listened to Lil' Kim?
Yeah, Lil' Kim and who else? Pink,
Nicki Minaj. They're just, it's no different than male rappers. I mean,
Lady Gaga, Britney Spears.
I give this credit because I feel like this is let's face it, in our culture is this thing where like men provide goodies for women in exchange for sex, right? And it's whether it's whether it's conservative, liberal, whatever, it's part of our culture and nobody can deny it, right? Like, women do get cars. Like women do, they get all their shit paid for by the men they're fucking. And it's just part of the culture. Okay. And she talks about it openly, and that seems to make people uncomfortable. Feminists should talk about that openly. Are they cool with that, or are they not cool with that? Right. Like, but it's talk openly about it. And if you're doing it, go for, talk about it.
As long as it's consensual,
But let's not pretend it doesn't exist, right? Like, I think that's women are been, it's like gold diggers aren't a new thing.
No, they aren't. All right, I think we've exhausted this topic. Let's move on. What's next, Bergman?
Let's get Cardi B on the show.
You settle down,
That would
Jared.
be awesome.
Okay, so in other news this week, Joe Biden has selected Kamala Harris as his vice presidential candidate.
She's a cop. Don't talk to cops.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, don't you guys kind of think that there's kind of like a line's been drawn in the sand, right? And it's like you can either express concern about police brutality or support the Biden-Harris ticket.
Right. Or you could support the Me Too movement, or you could support a rapist. Let's go. Let's find out.
Yeah, I think one really interesting angle to this is Joe Biden's health, right? If we go 6 months and he's no longer fit to serve as president, she's going to take over as president. And I mean, maybe for some people think he's fit as a fiddle, but from my perspective, some of these speeches I've seen, he goes off and starts talking about stuff that doesn't make any coherent sense. his stories kind of go in all different directions.
Isn't he already planning to like abdicate to her like in the second term or something?
I mean, I'm not
he's
sure,
already
but
talking like he's planning on doing this. Like he's going to, I forget how he phrased it. It was something like, I don't know. I can't remember. Just basically like setting it up for the next person. Like I'm not here for myself. I'm here to like for the next person in line or some shit like that.
He might be, if he wins, he might be one term just based on his age and his health.
Well, I think ever since Epstein Island closed, he's really just, his heart's not in it. You know, like
I love the memes where it's like he's sniffing all the potential candidates, you know, and she smells the best. Yeah, but I think he picked her. I mean, there's a variety of reasons, but obviously one is that she's a woman of color. I saw one thing that was like, congratulations to Kamala, the first Indian American to win whatever her, you know, Senate seat or whatever it was. And then and 4 years later, they're like, the first black woman to be nominated as VP. And they're like, well, is she Indian? Is she black? You know, her race magically changed from 2016 to 2020. But that was the fact that she's a woman and a woman of color. I know that's what he was looking for, to balance out the fact that he's a white male.
Right, because she can't be criticized unless you're a. Did you hear the new term, misogynoir? It's where you're misogynistic and racist all at the same time, and that's what you are when you criticize her now.
It should be misogyn racist or misogynacist or something.
Whatever. I just thought it was a funny term.
This sounds like a wine.
But
like
it's a
Pinot
good thing
Noir.
because, right, if you're going to, like, let's face it, conservatives aren't going to criticize her cop credentials, okay?
No, they are. That's the crazy thing. They are, but they're saying that she's too easy on crime.
Right, so they're just playing right. So they play along. Like, they're not, right, they're not calling her out for being the harsh. They can't criticize her for all the innocent people she locked up. All the black people that lives she ruined, all the families destroyed. They're not going to bring that critique. Right?
Oh, they don't care about that.
So any critique is going to come. Well, what's the critique going to be? Well, it'll just be like, well, she's a woman and brown skin. Oh, see, you know, like it's a good play. It worked with Obama. It's going to work again here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she's a strong candidate, and I think she's going to be a real problem for Trump. You know,
well, what if they went into, like, I mean, here we are in a sort of a state of disarray, right? We've got riots in the street. We've got all this COVID madness. People are desperate. It's sometimes when people are desperate, they want law and order. They want Mussolini. They want someone to take charge and get things back to normal and get everybody doing what I think they should be doing again. And cracking down on criminals has been a popular theme throughout history for left and right. What if they were like, yeah, she's a prosecutor and she's going to keep prosecuting. We're going hard on this lawlessness. We're going to just double down and start saying, yeah, I did the crime bill. And we put 100,000 more cops on the street. And we created 200,000 jail cells or whatever it was. Okay, you know, and what if they owned it and just went down that road?
It's not going to play with the left. The left doesn't like the law and order stuff.
They don't care. But not
they're
Trump.
Democrats.
They've established that whatever it is doesn't matter. Rapists.
Yeah, they're not going to.
Nothing,
they're not going to care about.
Care. They really don't care. They've already brought out the worst fucking scumbag they could twice, and it's completely fine, right? So I don't see them thinking like, we can't really have a scumbag, can we? Nope. Yes, you can. The left
yes,
will
we
not leave
yes,
them.
We
the left
can.
will not stop. The dedicated loyalists will still be there.
Yeah, I mean they won't admit to it. They won't admit that they are, you know, putting a cop into the White House, but they'll do it for sure.
But it does have an effect. I think a lot of the left stayed home instead of going out for Hillary because she's so horrible. Right. Like they lost votes because she didn't share their values, but they were still.
It's going to depend on how much they hate Trump, really.
They hate
the people that are the people that are, you know, I guess principled leftists or whatever, you know, it's going to be well, do I hate Trump enough to go out and just make sure he's not there anymore? Because they're definitely not going to be enthused about Kamala Harris or Biden.
Well, it's all state by state, right? There's states that are going to go for Dems no matter what, and there's states that are going to go for Trump no matter what. So it's all about these swing states, and that's where Trump won. He won Obama states or purple states, and
But
that's
don't
how
forget,
he won.
right? But don't forget the new leaders in this arena are the TikTok teens. Okay, we really don't know
well,
how
TikTok's banned, though, right?
Like, what are they gonna? How's this gonna play out now, right? Like, we've seen they're a threat. They've been tried to get banned. They're obviously a threat to the establishment. They're disrupting Trump rallies. It's the new political force to be reckoned with, as I think we were the first to recognize on this show early on.
Yeah, but
how's that going to play out?
Do they vote? If they don't vote, it doesn't
It's
matter.
not the voting. It's how they're influencing with snappy dance moves and like buying tickets for rallies and stuff that they're not going to. So
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I and nobody really talks about the fact that, again, I talked about those swing states that Trump won, and I think he won them with his protectionism. Everybody says the racists voted him in, but I think it was all about I'm going to protect your jobs from China, and it's America
China.
first. And I think that played well with blue collar Democrats who were concerned about their jobs. And now the economy's like really in the tank after COVID. So I just think a lot of times these elections swing based on what the economy is like at the time of the election, how people are feeling. Are they feeling good? Do they want to continue, or do they want to change? Are they ready for a new just anything different? And after COVID, I wouldn't be surprised if people are just ready for something different. Let's see if it turns the economy around.
I think they just want to double down on whatever stupid bullshit they've already embraced.
Yeah, well, I think we all know neither of these candidates is really going to change anything substantially. Trump's already been in office for 4 years, so we know what he's doing. And Biden's going to be just like Obama, I would assume. So, I mean, the big changes they want to expand Medicare. We know the progressive agenda.
I would think Biden would be worse than Obama.
In what ways?
In what way?
Well, I mean, it's especially as far as like if you recall, right before Obama left, he did pardon a good number of nonviolent drug offenders. So, that was pretty cool.
Something.
And then Joe Biden has said that legalizing marijuana was like the stupidest shit that we've ever done.
God, I can't believe they ran that guy as their candidate. Jesus. Like, wow.
Yeah.
It looked like he was dead in the water until South Carolina, and South Carolina turned it around for him.
Yeah, it's almost like they're trying to lose on purpose.
I don't know,
Sometimes.
man. I have no idea. I mean, to me, it's a coin flip every time.
Or I think what it might be is they recognize that it was possible that Trump would win again. So they don't want to throw like their best guy at him, right? It would be too close, and they might waste somebody, like a Pete Buttigieg or although I don't think he has enough political capital to do anything.
Like the next, let's just say the next Obama, which
the next Obama. Grooming. Like they don't want to.
He was in the Senate. Like as soon as he got elected to Senate,
right.
They were grooming him for that role.
They want to wait until Trump has ridden out his worth or whatever, and then now we've got our fresh face that can take over and start our empire, our dynasty. I think that's what it was. They didn't want to waste a good candidate on an unknown. Basically.
No, I think they're trying to win. Biden is their blue chip candidate. He's their,
clarify when you say they are trying to win. There's all different layers in this, right? Like up and down the food chain, some people really want the Democrats to win. That's a given. Mm-hmm. You keep going up the food chain, and they've already positioned themselves to not give a fuck. Goldman Sachs doesn't give a fuck. Raytheon doesn't give a fuck. Boeing, Lockheed Martin, they don't give a fuck. The war's going on regardless. They've positioned themselves. They've got people in all the right places. The deep state will continue as long as they have a player. They know Trump plays. They know Biden plays. You know what? Let's just, and let people bicker about the details amongst themselves and act like they're getting some kind of choice. So, who really cares? Or it's not anybody that has any influence. They're just like party hacks and, little fiefdoms here and there, but nobody that's really making policy at the top, from what I can tell.
Well, most of the population cares. And all these talking heads on radio and all the voters, I mean, people care. And the
But they don't
president
have
has
any
gotten,
influence.
They
They don't
do.
they have a vote.
I
I
think
mean,
I agree with the idea that like the neoliberal like center or whatever, for one thing, it did set the stage for what we have now. Like the seeds of a Trump presidency really were already planted in that. And also their like center is not willing to stand up enough. Like their spines aren't enough to move the Democratic Party back in a progressive. So my point is a Biden would be worse than an Obama, even though he is a standard neoliberal. What counts as like the neoliberal center has been like shifted to the right.
you
And
think so?
yeah, I do.
I guess my perception is that the entire Democratic Party has gone further left toward the Bernie Sanders AOC progressive wing that actually has like ideas of this is what we want, this is what we want to change.
Are you talking
Whereas-
about rhetoric or policy?
Just policy wise, what is the center's position?
The base maybe,
Or
but
just more?
But you
More
can
of
tell from
everything?
the primary that the base doesn't matter. The base doesn't matter. They are not afraid of political consequences from their base. That's why they are pushing these Bidens and Kamalas on their own base.
Right. The base has admitted that they don't care how lame it gets, and they're getting exactly what they'll settle for: garbage.
Well, I mean, if the base,
And
well, Mike,
I also
if the
think-
base was, go ahead.
I'm sorry, and framing people like Bernie and AOC as like far left is actually participating in dragging American politics to the right, because those would have been center and moderate, like basic, like Jimmy Carter positions. Like they're not far left at all. They're still welfare state capitalism.
Yeah, I guess it all depends on what you mean by far left. But
Well, again, you have to say votes or rhetoric. Like Bernie votes for the wars, he votes for the bailouts, he votes for all this corporate stuff. And then the rhetoric is like about poor people. So when somebody says they love Bernie, they're probably talking about the rhetoric and they've never looked at the voting record. That's my experience, right? So, there's people that genuinely want to be like the Bernie boys, like it's just a joke because they play along and they're never going to get what they want.
so Mike, you think like Bernie's too far right?
Bernie is, if you really look at it from the class analysis of supposedly that he's such a Marxist or whatever, he's objectively a ruling class person. And that's the analysis, is that his interests are aligned with the ruling class because he sits in a ruling class political body. And he's been there for decades. So, and you even see this happening with AOC. I can't think of the specific example, but she is no longer a working class person. She is now a ruling class person, and her interests shift. And you can see that with the way that her policies move. So
that's what politics is.
That's what happens. And you can, if you want to take that vocabulary out because you're uncomfortable with it, it still exists even in standard right libertarian spaces where we just talk about, the government bad. Well, why is the government bad? Because the politicians, they only care about money and power. It's basically just different words to say the same idea, that the rulers benefit from a different set of ideas than would benefit the rest of us. And that's why they implement those ideas the way that they do. And so, yeah.
But yet people still vote like it matters. It's hilarious.
And so, Mike,
Really
you're saying by framing Bernie as left or far left, you're essentially shifting the political spectrum over to the right, because now you've moved the center is now the left, so that means the right is now. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, that-
But his rhetoric is far left, right?
authoritarian-
But the rhetoric is left. The rhetoric is all about unions and workers and poor people and sticking it to the rich guys and all the traditional talking points that keep everybody in line. So yeah, he is far left. But then voting record is just ruling class, like you say. And I think that really confuses people, that disconnect, because in their mind, these things go together until you study politics and look at voting records, and then you understand there's things they say to get people to like them, and then they vote for who pays them.
Are you familiar with the Overton window, Mike?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess from my perspective, like, he's as far left as you can get in respectable politics. I say respectable, but mainstream politics. That's the word I want. Mainstream politics. I just
think mainstream politics are respectable.
If the Overton window is only like an inch wide and you're at the left-hand end of that tiny little inch wide window, and that's what counts as far left, then we're pretty screwed, because the entire range of options is fascism or fascism light. And that is what neoliberalism has morphed into. And that's what my point is. And the neoliberals obviously don't care about political consequences, or the running mate at least would have been a progressive. And AOC would have speaking time at their convention. She doesn't. She gets to send in a 60-second video. So all of their progressive stars are blocked out of convention time. The people that I just saw post going around today in like Democratic delegate circles, they are like flipping the fuck out, because the convention lineup, just like ours, when like, it's all these Koch funded think tank people who are like the keynotes, that tells you something about who has the most influence over like the center of the institution, like where the center of power really is. And for them, it's with the corporate Democrats. The progressives do not hold any power. They get media time because AOC is good at tweeting like snarky things at people. So good for her, but
it must be really hard for statists to keep track of all this bullshit. Like, seriously, I'm already like lost.
It does help
trying
you
to understand all the factions that to me are all the same anyway.
Anarchism is outside of all of this, right? Anarchists just
they're all,
at all
to me, they're all just people trying to come up with ways of confiscating resources from me and my friends. Like putting labels on them, like, I don't know, like it's just semantics after that to me.
It's like you're watching a basketball game from the stands and you don't understand what's going on.
That's racist, Kyle.
Or you do understand what's going on, but you're just not interested in basketball.
Right, but which team wins has a major impact on your future and your life.
Well, and then see, there's the problem. Like if basketball, luckily, who wins the basketball game has no influence on my life. And literally,
it definitely does.
No, he's saying in real life, in real basketball.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the basketball game doesn't. Yeah, but the result of politics does.
But the game they're playing doesn't really influence my life either. Their agenda just is constant, regardless of which team claims the championship. There's no change of policies or anything. So I don't care who wins, because I'm still going to be taxed. There's still going to be a war on drugs. There's still going to be a war on brown kids abroad. There's still going to be a domestic surveillance state. There's still going to be the TSA at the airport. There's still going to be the banker bailouts. There's still going to be,
Yeah, but somebody like me.
Let me know when any of that's up for change, and I'll start paying attention and act like
somebody like me
matters.
who opposes all that stuff, and would like to abolish the TSA and would like to legalize drugs. I'm a statist. I'm the enemy to you. And that's where you go wrong.
Well, why? By not embracing that stuff? I don't understand. By being against all of that?
Well, you're just like, you kind of say, well, all statists are the same, and you miss the fact
I didn't say all statists are the same. I said all the end results of the game are the same.
That's because we lose every time. Libertarians are not
Maybe
winning.
the game is rigged, Kyle.
Yeah,
no, it's not rigged. It's just this is the American people prefer the status quo.
No, you're showing up at the basketball game, and then you're like, but we can't get a field goal for some reason. Okay, like why can't we get a field goal at the basketball game? Right? You don't understand the game. right? Like you don't win
I-
that. You don't get a field goal.
I
You
understand
don't get
it, but I
freedom.
mean, I
It's
do
not
like.
designed to get you freedom. It's designed to take away your freedom. It's not going to get you protection. It's designed to take your wealth. So,
That is totally exactly it.
Hmm. I mean, I think it could work if we could win, but we can't win.
yeah, exactly. If we
because-
could just get that field goal, we'll win this basketball game.
Touchdown, touchdown,
keep
touchdown.
trying, dude.
Well, and
Keep
it is
trying.
it is a little. I like the basketball game analogy because you do have two big teams. You have Democrats and Republicans, but I think from a libertarian perspective, they're not that much different,
Well,
right?
like
So
the Colonel, I do agree with you on one point in that, like, if all of the people just magically woke up and just had perfect little ethical hearts, then any system could yield ethical results. But my answer to that would be, on the day that we actually wake up and that's actually real, we probably wouldn't want a state anyway or feel like we needed one.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mike Shipley.
That's
Yeah,
a good work, but would we need it
in a world of angels, right? Yeah.
in a
When-
world
when we can trust politicians, let me just somebody call me. Somebody say like, "Hey Jim, it's finally we did it. We can now trust politicians. You can come vote again." All right.
All right.
I'll yeah, you got my number.
What's the next
Yeah, dude.
topic, Matt?
Dude, James Babb, I'm gonna call your pager.
they're not pedophiles and scumbags anymore. We did it.
All right, so okay, so next we're talking about so Joe Jorgensen had a couple tweets about Kamala Harris.
That's right. And I saved these tweets so that we could discuss them on the show.
Does
Thank
she
you, Kyle.
do her own tweets? Let's first figure this out.
See, that's
Is
the thing.
this- is
I
this
don't
her
think she does. I
or her
don't think she
team?
does.
Well,
She has a team.
I'm sure she has a social media team and but I still would think that she's either approving or seeing these before they go out. I could be completely wrong about that, but
Well,
I see a lot of people saying, well, this isn't from her, it's from her media team. And
well, it's
she-
her responsibility for
It's
sure.
her
'Cause
responsibility.
that one was kind of dumb. That one that I forget what it was
Yeah,
now.
read-
but there
read-
was
read-
one they were like, oh,
read
it's
it.
dumb,
Kyle,
but
read-
whatever.
Read
So
the
here's
read the
the
first one.
Here's
Okay,
the
let's do
first
it.
one. She says, I'm glad that Joe Biden has brought another woman into the race. The vice presidency shouldn't be a boys' club. When I think about the millions of girls and young women across America, I think they deserve a voice this year when it comes to the top job in the country. So happy that it's a woman.
Yeah, that's
Um,
not a very good.
What the
Okay.
hell, Joe? Come
Okay,
on,
okay.
Joe.
Okay, Mike Shipley, I'm dying to hear. Like, what do you think about this tweet, dude?
I think that I feel like it was a misguided attempt to appeal to a right libertarian's stereotype of what a liberal would want to hear in hopes of striking a chord with those voters or whatever.
So it's some,
But it's
it's
a
some
li-
4D tweeting is now
Some 40
Joe's
tweeting,
thing.
But it's a little tone deaf because her own running mate is in the boys club apparently, and for two, it just isn't. It was destined to alienate the libertarian base because it smells very identity politicky, and if like the best thing you can say about Kamala Harris. And I'm not even saying like there is a kernel of like empowerment in that. Like it's a nice thought, but for her, it was a
Mike,
Okay,
what if-
here's why
Mike,
I say
wait.
it's not. Here's why I say it's not. So it's like, okay, the Democrats, they're not going to be anywhere near as polite to us. Nobody's even listening to this. This gets us nothing. They will still ignore us, or if they do acknowledge us, they'll be extremely rude to this. This gets us nothing. She needs to attack like Kamala Harris's principles, her
Look,
politics.
we've already got the feminism card. We selected a female as our main candidate, as our primary candidate. So like, why
Yeah,
cater? Why?
let's talk
why
about an actual
pander?
issue.
That's
But
all-
anyway,
How
so
about- I'd like
let's hear the
each of you to
second tweet.
I want each of you to rewrite that tweet as if you were given the assignment of that kind of a message, but make it a good libertarian spin.
Well, that's
how
the
would
thing.
you have done it?
Hold on, Kyle. Read the second tweet because the second tweet is actually good. The second
Yeah.
tweet is something that I would say.
So I think this is the second tweet. I was going through her Twitter and there's a ton of tweets, but I think this is the one that was right after it. Harris has an abhorrent record as a prosecutor. As a senator, Biden enabled her by passing draconian racist laws that resulted in the incarceration of millions of minorities. Biden said he wanted someone philosophically aligned with himself for his VP pick, and he got it. I don't know if that's the right tweet, but I think it is.
That's the one. Yeah,
Yeah.
it came almost immediately after.
To me, that's probably what Joe wrote.
Yeah.
And the other one was just something that somebody came up with and thought, whatever. Whoever wrote that other one needs to just be fired from the social media team. Sorry, like that's just you're not selling libertarianism with that. You're not promoting your candidacy with that. You're not landing hits against opponents with that. What are you doing?
Yeah, I had two problems with it. One is that it's pandering to gender politics. And the second is that it's being nice to your opponent,
Never.
or it's
not when they're monsters like that. The whole idea of being a libertarian candidate is to be free to go for the jugular, to say what has to be said, and to discard all the political niceties of people that want to get elected, and and go right for the truth, and go right to like you've ruined hundreds of fucking families of black people, and or you're just go for it.
We agree, James.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, the whole thing is almost an endorsement, right? It's not quite a Bill Weld endorsement, but it's almost an endorsement.
Well, it's good you mentioned that to put it into perspective, right? Like this could be so much worse, right? We're
using her 15 minutes. She's using her 15 minutes in the spotlight to shed spotlight on Kamala Harris, and what a good thing that is.
Yeah.
This is what I want to suggest to Joe, and we should bring her back on the show to get a campaign update, by the way, and to talk about some of this stuff with her and to try to help her. What she needs is some sarcastic bastard on her social media team, somebody that's like somebody to just balance out, right? Somebody to balance out this need to fit in and to blend in and to look respectable. She needs someone in there going, fuck that.
Are you offering your services, James Babb?
She probably needs somebody who's routinely in and out of Facebook jail.
Exactly. You're getting it. Perhaps Lysander Hess is somebody we're acquainted with who would like this job.
Right, dude.
Oh yeah.
But I think everybody knows that we like Joe and we want to see her succeed, and I want to see her deliver libertarianism to as many people as possible. I want to see a powerful libertarian message, and I want to see a harsh critique of these incumbent bastards.
Yeah,
I mean these mainstream. I mean, that's the reason you're there, is to rip them a new one.
I think that the campaign has decided on a strategy of appealing to progressives. She's posted a lot of pro BLM stuff. Spike has been doing BLM events, and Spike had made a post supporting transgender, I guess bringing attention to transgender murders. And so I just get the impression that the campaign is trying to reach out to the left and appeal to left-wing voters.
I think that's fine, but do it in a libertarian way, right? Like do it with a libertarian argument. We've been critiquing the police state and the drug war for decades, right? Like we're on this. Like we actually have all the right answers on this. We don't have to pander. We just need to let you know that we've shared this concern deeply, and we've put a lot of thought into the causes and the remedies, and here they are.
I don't know why it comes across as pandering to me when I see these kinds of posts. Maybe
they want to use the keyword. They use keywords and catchphrases instead of content sometimes. And in tweets, I understand this is kind of the field, but I feel like each time that she's made one of these tweets that gets, to me, it's just off the mark. It's like, I see what you're trying to do, but you just missed, and I just feel like if they just put a little more libertarian spin on it, step back and do it from a hardcore libertarian perspective, they can make all the same points even better and forget about the pandering.
And I think the other thing that, and I don't know if the team just missed this obvious point or something, but like all of the other people will be accused of misogyny if they attack Kamala Harris. And Joe Jorgensen is obviously immune to that critique. So if anybody
She's going to play that card.
come out swinging, like she should play the feminism card and be like, okay, you want to talk about empowerment? How are all those single Black women doing with all their, all the people you put in prison? How about them?
What about the problems? What about the problems of sexual assault for Black women?
Right. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris. Miss Harris, let's talk about this. Let's have a conversation about feminism.
That's pretty good, Mike.
I know.
He's like,
He's
like, yeah.
Hey, shit. Oh, yeah, Mike Shipley. Fuck yeah, dog. Shit.
Single mothers whose fathers you locked up for, possession of a marijuana. 1,500, I think it was. Jeez.
Was it 1,500? Jesus.
That's what I saw.
Hey, guys, we're about running out of time here. I actually have a special guest though for the After Hours program.
All right.
So yeah,
surprise.
Yeah, it's a surprise, dude. It's a surprise. So we're gonna head on over to After Hours. Meet us at patreon.com. We also have t-shirts over at libertariancountry.com. If you type in the code PRL, you'll receive a 10% discount. If you spend $50 or more and you use the code PRL2, you'll receive a 20% discount. This podcast is brought to you in part by Conversations About Freedom podcast, hosted by Moral Bob. Until next time, live free
or die.